It's Sports Madness with AJ Speier on 91.3 FM WBNY and I-95 Sports Network.
I'm here to announce that Ted Nolan has been relieved of his duties as head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. I want to thank him and his staff for showing up to the rink every day with a good attitude and working hard in less than ideal circumstances. I've said all along that I want to evaluate, and for the last few days that's gone on, and the last part of that evaluation was 6 hours of interviews with our players today, and this is the culmination of that evaluation. I think Ted's got a wonderful personality. I think he's cordial to you guys after tough losses. I think that he's a good man. I've said all along, I want to improve this team every day, and today I came to the decision that a change may help us improve, and that was it.
All right, here is the rant I promised. And by the way, Richard Sherman has inspired me with this mindset of, if I feel somebody is disrespecting me, I have no problem to publicly criticize them, right? You saw what he did the first take when it came to Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. By the way, I still feel bad about that, how it all played out, because they're my idols, but he did make some valid points. Sometimes media members, when it comes to analyzing things, only look at stats and don't look at film, and they just talk out of their bleep. You know what I'm trying to say. But basically, I want to talk about the way that the Sabres coverage has gone on in the media. And, who can say it better than Kevin Hart?
Say it with your chest! Say it with your chest! Say it with your chest!
How many times do we need to hear about Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel? I feel like every time I turn on our sports radio station here, because there's no competition, all we keep hearing about is Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. Oh, by the way, did you know Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel? I had no idea that the Sabres were targeting him. Now, I understand you want to keep positivity, right? The Sabres are purposely losing. You got to have some reason to be happy during this whole process. Can't watch Sabre games like usual. Can't root for your team to win. So what better way to satisfy our fans than to talk about the golden prize? I understand that. You want to fantasize over getting Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel. Now, I don't need months of this. Even years. We want to go back to last year where we were talking about Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel, the potential of that generational player. It's pretty obvious that if the Sabres were to finish last, which they end up doing, they could get either one of them. And I didn't need it regurgitated to me every single day when there are other topics to talk about out there, right? Now, if you're following the Sabres this year, and they don't really have a lot of talent on the team, and you know what their goal is, and it's pretty obvious, why continue talking about the same thing every single day? What do you think is the most interesting thing to talk about when it comes to Sabres this year? You think it's to talk about the people currently on the roster? You think it's to talk about the draft, which is what you guys will be talking about? You'll be talking about McDavid and Eichel for the next, 2-3 months. Until, there's no reason to really talk about it right now either. There are other stories. The Bills have had an amazing offseason, right? A new coaching staff, Greg Roman, Rex Ryan, plenty of things you can get into there. You look at all the offensive parts they brought in, those 7 guys: Sean McCoy, Jerome Felton, Charles Clay, Percy Harvin, Tyrod Taylor, Richie Incognito, Matt Castle, all those guys on offense. I talked about the coaching staff too, Rex Ryan and Greg Roman. There are so many juicy stories surrounding the Bills right now, yet all I keep hearing is Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. That's exactly what I'm doing in the morning when I keep hearing this. I mean, I got it. I got it the first time. I got it last year when the Sabres were purposely sucking and trading away players for draft picks. I get it. All right? Sabres finishing last. They get a generational player, and there's better times to come for the Sabres. The future will be bright. But right now, it's not bright, right? So continuing to talk about the future, which isn't really here right now, and you haven't actually gone to the lottery yet to know if you're picking first or second. To me, it's just meaningless conversation, and there's no reason to really talk about it. Now, the one thing that is interesting right now is the Sabres prospects. Now, they've got a lot of guys in the OHL, and if you really care that much about the Sabres, we're willing to go to Rochester for games or watch their prospects in an OHL, college hockey, whatever it be. For the OHL, in order to watch any game you want, $150 in the regular season. To watch the playoffs is $80. Now, who wants to commit $230 to watching prospects who aren't ready yet? I understand. People like to say this is hockey heaven, right? Next to Detroit, there's no better place for hockey, right, than Buffalo. We're so close to the border. There's so many Canadian fans who come to our games here. The Sabres have embraced their team. Most are aware when they had that run where they went to the Eastern Conference Finals twice, the city was behind the team. And we can't wait for those days where they're contending for Stanley Cups yet again. But the fact of the matter is, this team has been in last place the past 2 years. You knew the goal coming into the season. You knew that they were tanking, even if they can't admit it publicly. You knew that Ted Nolan got the short end of the stick coaching his team. Granted, it was an opportunity. Granted, he was paid for it. But in all likelihood, he'll never get another head coaching job after this stint. Nobody's really going to think about, you were coaching a tanking team. No, they're going to think about he's just a bad coach. I don't necessarily look at it that way. I think Ted Nolan deserves a spot, and I hope he gets it. It wasn't really fair on him. But if you're a fan of the Sabres, do you want to hear the same thing every single day? Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. People want new material, right? Bills are interesting. There are other stories going on nationally, right? When the Sabres were facing the Arizona Coyotes for the first time, our media was hyping it up as this is the game that decides whether or not the Sabres get McDavid or Eichel. Tune in, and it'll be a blast. Ended up being a 4-3 game, but, it didn't decide anything. It went down to the second last game of the season for the Sabres where, they lost a game. They did their job. They lost the game. And, they were trying to hype up every single game for the past, 10, 15 games. This could be the deciding factor for us getting Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel. Tune in and listen to us talk about McDavid and Eichel the next day and how we should all panic about it. Really? It's obvious. It's obvious what everybody wants. There are those who can't accept tanking. I'm one of them. I can't stand the idea of watching and rooting for my team to lose. I'm not going to watch those games. I would just go back and look at the box score, look at the highlights, and continue on with life. And I know other people because I've gone around Buffalo doing podcasts for other people, more than I post on Twitter, by the way. And, people feel the same way. The media for the Sabres has become boring. Nobody's entertained. We all know we're all signed up for the same thing here. Get a generational player, contend in 2016 and 2017, and watch the development then when the Sabres are actually going for a playoff. I don't understand why we need to talk about a team that's consistently losing, and you don't even provide analysis of why they're losing, right? You look at puck possession and stats like that. Puck possession isn't everything. Obviously, sometimes you can dump and chase. Sometimes you can try to carry it in. And the Sabres obviously weren't good at that. But when you can't set up players in the right spot for shots, you have a lot of bad angle shots, you can't clear defenders out of the crease, that's a big reason for why the Sabres were losing so many games. That's why they're giving up so many shots. That's why they had so few shots. Pretty obvious. It's the same story, it felt like, every single day. And I've talked to other Sabre media members around here, right? And it was the worst thing they've ever had to experience as a media member. You imagine going to games where you know they're going to lose. It's probably going to be a 3-1 game, 4-1 game, whatever it be. The Sabres are going to not come out with a lot of effort. They're going to look very sloppy on the ice. Who's going to have fun covering that? You want to talk, and you got to talk to the players afterwards where they're in this bad mood because they can't win the game. It's not fun for anybody. It's not fun for the media members. It's not fun for the fans. And the people who are basically trying to force feed you buy into McDavid and Eichel every single day, like we haven't the first time you said it. I understand the network ties, right? If you're the Sabres radio network, you get more money if you talk about them. You get more money if people are tuning in to games. If people are watching and going to games, listening, whatever, that obviously gives you more money if you think just closed-minded and think, Bills, Sabres, we're Buffalo. We're only going to talk Buffalo sports. We want a uniqueness. If you're going to listen to our radio station, you're going to get nothing but Buffalo coverage. We have a national station, right? We have ESPN 1520. If you care so much about the NBA, if you care so much about the MLB, the NCAA, you can go right there. Well, how come we don't promote it that much then, right? Why is it you only hear about the local station? Why is it you're not hearing about the national station that often to give people another station where they can go to? You don't hear about that much. And we all know that there's a third station by CBS radio, which really only has one local show, and pretty much the rest of it is all national. And their ratings aren't that high either. So I feel like sports radio in general, in Buffalo at least, has been mediocre for the past, year or so. And they need to do something to change that. And like I said, you have that obligated feeling because you live in Buffalo, and you feel like if you're a Bills or Sabres fan, you gotta talk about it all the time. You have the 20-minute interval. People go drive somewhere. They're going to want to listen to same thing every day. Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. Yeah, I can't wait to go to work and talk to my buddies about Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel. I can't wait to go to that grocery store and talk about Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel. Yeah, I can't wait to watch that Sabres game where they're going to lose yet again. Root for my team to lose 4-1. Yeah, awesome. I don't look at it that way. No. Everyone knows the prospects of the future. Everyone knows that the current people on your team right now won't be here maybe a year or so from now. You look at the pieces that the Sabres had that will probably be here from now on, going into the future. Tyler Ennis, Zemgus Girgensons, Matt Molson, Nick Delorier, Marcus Foligno. Who knows what will happen with Cody Hodgson and his contract. Defenseman, the Zach Bogosian trade, obviously, Nikita Zadorov, Rasmus Ristolainen, Mike Weber maybe, and obviously Evander Kane when he's healthy. Those are the only real guys you look at on this team and say, hey, we've got a future with these guys. Let's see what can happen. It wasn't entertaining to watch. There wasn't a lot of supporting talent to help them out and score more goals. So, and you knew the goal was that they were going to be tanking in the first place. So I just look at it from the standpoint of, why force feed it? Why tell everybody, hey, McDavid, Eichel every single day? What, are you afraid that the Buffalo News is trying to say, hey, go for it? Why continue to talk about it? What's obvious? Root for your team to lose, get them, finish 30th, you get the prize, you contend, for the next 10, 15, 20 years with the next Sidney Crosby. It's obvious. Move on to the next topic. The Bills. They deserve more coverage. Let's be honest here. Do you want to talk about the depressing stuff, or do you want to have fun? Depressing, fun. Depressing, fun. I think I'd rather talk about the fun stuff, right? Because, the Bills, it's been 15 years since they made the playoffs. 7 new pieces on offense. 2 huge new coaches. I'm not going to include Dennis Durbin because it's Rex Ryan's defense. Although, I'll say 3 huge new coaches. Although, Jim Schwartz did a good job and so did Mike Patton. So, it will be more creative this year with Rex Ryan and Dennis Durbin around. But I'm really excited about Rex Ryan. I'm really excited about Greg Roman. And I'm excited about you too, Dennis Durbin. Don't worry. I know you're going to get a defensive coordinator job somewhere. But all those new pieces, all those new coaches, the media's favorite thing to talk about is quarterbacks, right? I finally saw an article up today, a feature written about that by a different reporter, by the way. E.J. Manuel, Matt Castle, Tyrod Taylor, those 3 quarterbacks battling for a spot. Didn't really hear anything much about Tyrod Taylor until I tweeted about it. Just saying, AJ breaks down the film. They look at stats. Oh, he didn't play in the NFL much because of Joe Flacco. Oh, he must be a nobody. He's just a guy who just fills into the roster, right? No, he's going to get challenged for the job. And if you look at the Virginia Tech highlights, you'll understand that he's pretty deserving of an opportunity to start. So that's a story. That's an interesting day full of topic. Tyrod Taylor, is he a legitimate threat to win the starting job? I think he is. Fastest quarterback in the NFL. Finally got a chance over the past 4 years to watch a veteran and work under center. What can he do? I think it's an entertaining topic. What do you prefer? Bills add a new piece, competing for Bills' starting quarterback job, which is loaded with talent, versus tank for Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel, day number 400 and whatever. What's more entertaining to you? And that's the thing. by the way, congratulations to Joe Biscaglia, who went from radio reporter to WKBW. So now you lost a 6-year reporter who was handed a job, by the way, as a board op, and he went to WKBW. And have you noticed the coverage ever since, right? They're supposedly looking for a job, right? They're looking or interviewing people for the position right now, right? Currently, they have Sal Capaccio and Matthew Collar filling in as the interim Bills reporter, right? Now, in my opinion, both those guys are good as hosts. Both those guys are held back by other hosts. You hear complaints all the time from fans, but because ratings remain the same, right? Or ratings aren't declining to that point because there's no other options really for Buffalo sports coverage, they're not making a change. I'm one of those people who's going to publicly say it. I think Matthew Collar and I feel like Sal Capaccio both deserve a daily show together in the afternoons. You know what I'm implying here. I'm not going to say it, but I'm implying it here. And, you know, if you're talking about Bills reporters, I'm pretty sure there's somebody here at Buffalo State who won Best Sports Coverage. The only time the record has ever done that. I'm pretty sure there's somebody who did videos for the football team for the past, 2-3 years. And, you know, they went 8-3 when I was here. I had a good relationship with those coaches. I went to practices every day. I wrote game recaps. I wrote features. But you want me to take a smaller salary, right? You're not going to pay me what the best reporter should get. Because, and I'm going to break it down for you this way too. I film study. Those of you out there who aren't aware, not every media member you get your information from film studies. They'll look at stats, they'll read somebody else's work and say, boom, this is what I think. Didn't film study. I won a state championship, I won Best Sports Coverage, and I broke down film not only for Sweet Home, but for Buff State too. And I've been doing it on the Bills as well. You listen to this show, how in-depth is my knowledge when it comes to football? Why should I settle for basically the minimum type salary coming out of college? Because I haven't been paid yet? That was the excuse that Cleveland's program director told me. You know, go to Rochester or Batavia first because you haven't been paid. Didn't even listen to my demo, by the way. Just told me, go there first and then I'll consider you without even listening to my demo. And anyone who has listened to the show in the past with the 2 Rex Ryan rants, you know I'm legit. Because I haven't been paid is not an excuse. So that's how I feel with that. If I were in charge of Buffalo radio, it wouldn't have been Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, 24/7 on a sports station here. You got the Bills, you got interesting national stories, the NCAA tournament, by the way. You know, Bobby Hurley, for all that time where there's the rumors that he might go elsewhere, DePaul, Arizona State, he just ended up there. We haven't really heard about that, and that was the biggest news, right? Sabres was obvious. Bills, all those moves have been in the offseason. Bobby Hurley, about to get a raise and extension, ends up in Arizona State where he's going to make around $2 million. Guys, 42-20, taking over a UB team that had never made a tournament before, wins the MAC East Division twice, wins the actual title in a year, and we don't hear anything about it. Why? Because they're not the Big East? They're not the SEC? I don't understand. I don't understand why we're force-feeding Sabres down everybody's throats. Why somebody who actually worked their butt off during college needs to settle for a smaller contract when he's already proven he's better than the current people who are in place right now. And I want to talk about that too, because there is a movement going on right now between the players versus the media. And people don't realize the media has a job to ask players questions. The players don't feel like they need to give them answers. They're forced to do it because it says in their contract, you must give a certain amount of time to the media per week or risk being fined. You saw what happened to Marshawn Lynch. You know why I'm here. Those kind of answers. Couldn't stand the media. You've seen Colin Kaepernick and his issues with the media. Like I said, there is a war brewing between the media and athletes. I'll get to all that and more up next on Sports Madness.
It's Sports Madness with AJ Speier on 91.3 FM WBNY and I-95 Sports Network.
We can be bought, NBA Players Association.
Right.
They're sending a message. It's not just a message that we don't want the media to have a say-so in our awards. They're sending a message that we know more than you guys, and now we have enough powerful guys in this union that are not afraid to speak up every day. You got Chris Paul, you got LeBron James, you got Kevin Durant. All of a sudden, the players know that for the first time, maybe in the history of any sports league, they can wield that power and make it work. And whatever adversarial relationship that we've pretty much seen from NBA players the last 3 to 5 years, they have been very, very strong with their comments about how they don't like guys in the media, whether it's local, whether it's regional, whether it's national. So they're thinking, you know what? We know what goes on inside of on this court.
We're doing our own show.
Right. Guys are not getting enough shine because maybe this media person has an agenda against this player or that team. Well, players, they think that thought process is, we don't have an agenda. We know the guys that can ball, and we know the guys that can't. We're not going to let you overrate and underrate guys anymore. The problem that I have with this, because I don't mind it, the problem that I have with it, all of a sudden there's going to be that 1 or 2 media people that have a vote for MVP and these awards. How strong is that backlash going to be? And how will the NBA, whether it's Adam Silver or Michelle Roberts, you got to be able to deal with that, because that's the elephant in the room that's going to get increasingly larger that will have to be talked about.
Hello and welcome back to Sports Madness on 91.3 FM, WBNY. I am AJ Speier, and I'm going to break it down for you. For those of you who think that the media and the athletes, they get along and everything's just peachy clean, whatever, fine, whatever. It's not. And the NBA players are taking a stand. And by the way, I have been suggesting this going back to 2-3 months ago, where I said, this day is coming. This day is coming where the players take it into their own action. By the way, we have a new segment. It's called Kermit Get the Tea, and I don't know how I knew this. It's not like I've been talking to anybody about this or anything like that. Maybe I was just reading their body language, you know?
It's not a lot that you've been saying, whoa, but I can tell from your body language. Okay, let's talk about it. If you about it. Let's talk about it.
Can we talk about it?
But you ain't gotta say too much. Ain't gotta say too much. I can read your body language.
Kermit! Get the tea! But that's none of my business. That's definitely none of my business, right? Because I've never been paid. I've never been a paid media member. I don't know what it's like to talk to players, right? Because I've never been paid. I don't know what it's like to develop sources and break stories. I have no idea what I'm talking about, right? I'm not a journalist. I didn't win Best Sports Coverage Award. I didn't spend the past few years working on videos for the football team and also doing sports anchor stuff there too, right? Anything I say, apparently, according to you paid people out there, is incredible. I beg to differ. Because I called this one, and I called a lot of things in the past. Russell Westbrook, you know what a performance he's had that's been MVP caliber? Who's the one who said he'd be a superstar if he was on another team if Kevin Durant wasn't there? Me. Last year in the NBA Finals, who said Kawhi Leonard was going to break out and he'd be the MVP? Me. I know what I'm talking about. You know why? Because there's a big difference between me and those paid guys who you love to listen to and just believe everything that they say, right? They don't film study. They look at stats, they look at somebody else's work, and try to say, here's my opinion. They're lazy, they get paid to just give opinions, take phone calls, they don't care about the players, they don't care about the coaches, they don't even care about what's actually going on. It's all about generating ratings, because the bottom line is to get ratings. We want our sponsors to be satisfied to the point where they're going to keep giving us money because we got you locked in thinking that we can just BS our way throughout the entire show thinking, yup, we got all these suckers in this week. No, people need to be a little bit more aware of this. Hashtag stay credible, right? Film study. If the media had their way, EJ Manuel would not be currently in a quarterback competition, right? If they had their way, 58.3% completion percentage, do you think that that's good? Nope. Maybe we should get rid of him. All right. Jay Cutler, Sam Bradford. It's going to cost the Bills a first or second round pick, but you know what? I don't want a film study. I don't look at the offensive line. I don't look at the franchise low in rushing yards. I don't look at the young developing wide receivers. Nope. All I know is it's a quarterback-driven league, and if you don't have Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers, you can't win in this league. So you know what? I'm willing to give up $15 million to Jay Cutler and also give up a first-round pick because I don't know any better, right? No, you got to film study. It's a team game. It's about executing. If your linemen can't get to their blocks in time and defenders are getting past them, how on earth is a quarterback supposed to get accurate passes downfield all the time? You complained last year because the Bills aren't throwing a lot of deep passes. They weren't able to run the ball, so you don't have play action to get Sammy Watkins time down the field. But he's not performing like Tom Brady. Let's get him out of here. Off with your head, EJ Manuel. Yeah, that's why he's got a legitimate chance to start now, right? Because you're so smart, and you can sell ratings because that's what everybody else thinks. They don't film study. A lot of fans don't. Media doesn't. Y'all have your opinions, which is fine. And by the way, Charles Barkley addressed this, and I want to get to what Charles Barkley had to say about the media, too.
You know, one of the sad things about our society today, we have turned every ass out there into a coach. You know, they get to tweet and Facebook and Instagram every thought about your every coaching move. I mean, it's got, you know, all these talk radio shows. You know, I tell people, just because you watch Grey's Anatomy don't mean you can do an operation. But it's really sad this day. You know, you see it all the time. When a coach is under duress, networks are following him around. Everybody's saying all this negative stuff on the internet. They're showing all the tweets and things. And he gonna get fired unless he wins. But we shouldn't let regular Joes dictate whether you hire or fire your coaches and things like that. We do that in no other profession, only sports. You know, sports is the only profession we let everybody have an opinion. We let a garbage man have an opinion. You know, we let a school teacher.
Sometimes he's better than the guy on the radio.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, their job is just to incite people to call in and argue with them. Like a lot of those radio guys are my friends, and we'll be playing golf. And I said, "What are you going to talk about today?" He says, "Blah blah blah." I said, "You don't believe that, do you?" He said, "No, but these people are going to call in and argue for 4 hours."
They're going to get people to call in and argue for 4 hours. Does it sound like they're prepping? Because last time I checked, and by the way, now's the portion where I call people out, right? Yeah, the afternoon host for WGR, Mike Shope, right? Last time I checked, a few months ago, you said, "Well, here's my prep," and there was nothing there. Bulldog, when you were here at Buffalo State speaking to the students about your prep, do you remember who grilled you at that little meeting? Oh, that was me. Do you remember what you told me about prep, right? You read newspaper articles and look at stats. You don't watch every single game. But you know how to BS for 4 hours. You know how to get people to call into your show. But you know what? You're great because you've been here for 10 or 15 years and you've got paid experience. Therefore, people like Matthew Collar and Sal Capaccio can't get a daily job because you've been here for 10 or 15 years and your brand is so good that you can't be replaced. That's BS. Film study, come up with accurate opinions. And not just BS opinions where you try to get rid of EJ Manuel and Stevie Johnson because you don't know any better and actually watch the damn film. But you know what? You're good enough to be the afternoon show for Buffalo. Not Matthew Collar, not Sal Capaccio. And notice how I'm not even putting myself there. You know why? I don't want a daily show in Buffalo. I want one in San Fran. I want one in Milwaukee. Those are the type of places that I'm pursuing because I recognize what it's like here. You're forced to talk Buffalo sports, whether it be Bills or Sabres. The only way that I would stay in Buffalo, by the way, is if I were a reporter because I want to see the Bills make the playoffs. I want to see them contend for the Super Bowl, maybe even win the Super Bowl, if I'm right about this, right? The only way I will stay in Buffalo is if I get my salary demands and I can be the reporter, and I get a chance to do a fill-in show. That way I can show how much better I am when I'm not producing my own show and not taking guests, not taking callers, and doing all this by myself, which is what I did for TV and what I did for the record. But, you know, because I wasn't paid by Batavia or Rochester yet, that means I'm not good enough. That means whatever I send you must not be quality work because you're a genius. You've been a program director for 20 years and everything that you do is right on the money, right? You can't possibly get any more listeners the way that you run things, right? It's just perfect. No film study, don't care what we say in the air, get callers to call in, get sponsors to give us money, and don't care about the product you're putting out there. Don't care that you're screwing over people's lives by made-up stories about how they need to be gone, right? EJ Manuel legitimately could win this job. Better coaching staff, Greg Roman, you saw what he did for Colin Kaepernick, you saw what he did for Alex Smith. He's got a shot now. You see the offensive line upgrade in Richie Incognito. Probably going to draft one in this year's draft, 2nd or 3rd round. Better tight end. Going to get him the ball more. Better running back. Can throw him the ball, and he'll go for long yards, not get injured like C.J. Spiller did. Unlike Mike Williams, I expect to see Percy Harvin on the field more often this year. They have a legitimate fullback in Jerome Felton. It's not Frank Summers this time. You think EJ's going to have a better year? Oh, yeah, that's right. I've been tweeting about this, right? And it seems like the media just seems to be softening their stance. Now, I'm not trying to imply that, my tweets help them with their show, but you get it. Now, I want to talk about the war between the athletes and the media, right? The NBA Players' Choice Awards. Why are they doing this? Let's see. The MVP is decided by writers and broadcasters. But the thing is, those guys, a lot of their information comes from sports information directors, right? They provide the stats. They talk to the little buddies. You think this? Yep, I think this, so I'm going to write a story on it, right? No. You don't film study. If you did, you wouldn't be saying that Stephen Curry is the runaway MVP. James Harden, without Dwight Howard, without Patrick Beverley, is the MVP. He's improved offensively. Shooting three-pointers. Doesn't shoot as much as Russell Westbrook does in volume. He's aggressive to the lane. He's taken over point guard duties. He's improved his defense, where he's averaging around 1.9 steals per game. He's committed an effort to that, too. Finally had his own team, and he's had to step up with players being gone. But you know what? Because Golden State is the best team in the NBA, and Stephen Curry is the best player in that team, we automatically think, you know what? Stephen Curry's got decent stats. They're continuing to win games, so you know what? We should just give the award to Stephen Curry. Well, you know what? The NBA players are not going to settle for that, right? Last year, Kevin Durant felt he deserved it, but he wanted players to say that he deserved it because Kevin Durant knows what everybody else knows. He needs to improve his defense, and it's not just a one-sided game. You don't just do everything on the offensive side. And by the way, that brings me to another point that really pissed players off this season, right? DeAndre Jordan, arguably one of the best defenders in the game when it comes to protecting the rim. Did he make the All-Star game? No. Who did they give it to? Somebody who had the numbers offensively. Why? Because they don't have the numbers defensively. They don't have the numbers for intimidation when somebody's trying to drive through the lane and they said, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pass it out because I can't get through DeAndre Jordan. By the way, the only weakness in that guy's game, really, is his free throw shooting ability. Could he average more points a game? Probably, but there's a lot of talent on the Clippers. He doesn't need to. When Blake Griffin went down for injuries, he was averaging 20-20 games. 20 points, 20 rebound games. So, you look at what I'm trying to basically get to here. By the way, Bernard King just made the NBA Hall of Fame. You ask any player who played with him, he should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. But, because your media delivers you the news, everything they say must be 100% accurate. If they say E.J. Manuel should be gone, bring in Jay Cutler, bring in Sam Bradford, they must be right on the money because they've been delivering you news for 10 or 15 years, and they must be right. Not necessarily the case. The media knows what I know because I film study and I see the same things. I can't tell you how many times I'll listen to a radio show, whether it be local or national, where I'm listening, I film studied on it, and some of the things they're saying are BS. When it comes to reporters, they get stats and they're press release distributors. When it comes to breaking news on somebody signing somewhere, like the Percy Harvin thing, which I kept hashtagging stay credible on, right? What happened there? He didn't sign until Wednesday. They said he had signed on Friday. They said it was a 6-year deal, or a $6 million deal, and it turns out it was a 3-year contract with options to void the second and third year of that contract. Didn't hear that from the media. Didn't hear, oops, I was wrong. I didn't see that on Twitter. Didn't see any of that. All I saw was that story lying there all weekend and people wondering, hey, did the Bills get Percy Harvin? Hey, this is a different link. Let me click on this. And you know what? They got more clicks because of it. Didn't try taking it down saying, oh, it's not accurate, can't post this yet. Just collected that money and didn't care. That is your media, ladies and gentlemen. It is not about being credible. It is about drawing you in with what you want to hear. They're the true honeypotters. Colin Cowherd called Rex Ryan a honey powder because, he said that he likes beer, he likes wings. So he's trying to be one of us. And that, he's not going to have success, but he's going to say all the right things. I mean, if you really watched HBO Hard Knocks, you'd know Rex Ryan's a likable guy. Ask anybody around the league. He's a likable guy. He has a presence about him. And, when he has pieces to work with, they're pretty good. He's produced pretty good teams. Won a Super Bowl ring with the Baltimore Ravens, against the Giants, by the way. And, went to the NFC Conference Championship twice, or AFC Conference Championship twice with the New York Jets. But, those are your media members out there. Get paid to give an opinion. I've been here for 10 or 15 years, so everything I say must be correct. The players are trying to send a message now, right? They want to control their image. No more people losing jobs because you're trying to fill ratings. Oklahoma City struggles early on in the season, right? Russell Westbrook's injured. Kevin Durant's injured. 2 superstars gone. Now, let's remember, anytime you go on the court with your roster, right? 5 men are on the court. You take away Durant and Westbrook. That's 2 of those 5 guys. Tell me how Scott Brooks, with guys who are MVP candidates, it seems like every year, whether it be Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant, is supposed to magically win those games without them, where he had no parts. This is before Enes Kanter was acquired. This is before Deion Waiters was acquired. This is when their next best player was Jeremy Lamb or Serge Ibaka. And Ibaka was trying to chuck up threes because he's trying to do everything by himself on offense. But the media's thinking, we're so spoiled here because we've made it to the playoffs in all 4 of those years that Scott Brooks has been here. We've been to the conference finals a few times. We've even been to the finals a year. Why is it not working? Should I just say that Durant and Westbrook are injured and just be fine with that? No. Let's go for the juicy ratings, right? They can do better than Scott Brooks. Why haven't they won a title yet? Why is it Miami's been to the finals 4 years? All you care about is ratings, hits, and views. You don't care about the players. You don't care about the coaches. You don't put the time in to film study. Why does the team not succeed? Well, he completed 58.3% of his passes. Tom Brady's doing 65%, so clearly it's an accuracy thing. It's not the team around him. That's what you want? That's what you want? Those are the opinions you want. People who just look at stats and say, here's what I think with nothing to support it. Durant, one of the things that really led to this movement where the Players' Choice Media Award or Players' Choice Awards came out, right? Back at the All-Star weekend when I believe Durant was injured, but he still talks to the media, right? Durant was portrayed as a robot. He spoke up about it. I'm going to be me going forward. Because you saw the endorsement deal he had before, right? I think it was a State Farm commercial where he looks stiff as a statue, and you're like, come on, Durant, where's your personality? Didn't really see it. And the thing is with Durant understands how the media works too. Don't piss them off, and you'll be portrayed as this godlike figure, right? You do something like Richard Sherman, and all of a sudden you're labeled as a thug. Even though he is arguably the best corner in the game. I don't know, it's a toss between Revis and him. But you're labeled as a thug if you speak out. If Michael Crabtree is trash-talking you an entire game, and you speak out and say, I'm the best corner of the game, don't you dare try me. Oh my God, he's a thug because he yelled on national television. Like you've never yelled at your kid. Are you a thug because you yell at your kid? If you have a problem, like, he did his job. It was the heat of the moment. He was angry because Crabtree was talking to him. He did something off the field in the offseason, but you don't get the full picture. You trust whatever those guys who've been paid for all those years say because they must be correct. It's not the case. By the way, the players, the reason why they really want to control their image so much is they understand the media is too entitled. Now, I don't know how people are aware of this, but if you're covering a local event, right, that team will provide you food. They're providing you food, even though you're going to say negative things about them. The whole situation with Doug Marrone, and by the way, I am glad he's gone, but I did feel like he did deserve another chance. But I am glad he is gone. Let me make that clear. I am glad Doug Marrone is gone. However, I did feel he deserved another chance for one more year, but hey. Bills win Super Bowl with Rex Ryan, I have no problem with that. But the thing is with the players, right? They want to go about their business. They just want to focus on the actual sport. You're going to film study. You're going to practice. You're going to play in games. You're going to work out. You're going to study playbooks, whatever it be. You don't want distracting stories, right? And here's a good one, right? Richie Incognito and the Miami Dolphins. And now that was warranted, right? Because of the harassment of Jonathan Martin and blah, 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 blah. You don't know how that plays out. But sometimes when there's a story between, like, maybe there's a little bit of an argument between Doug Marrone and Doug Whaley, do you really need to be asking players about that? How do you feel about the situation? Because all of a sudden that little chit chat goes on. Hey, what did you say to the media? Oh, I said this, blah, blah, blah. You're not focusing on the actual game, which is what the players want to do. You know, when Richie Incognito and Percy Harvin come to the Buffalo Bills, you think the players are thinking, you know what? He's a terrible guy. I can't believe what he did in Miami. Or they're thinking, Bills just upgraded at guard. We have better chances to win. Percy Harvin, if they jam you, by all means, punch them in the face. If we win a Super Bowl, I don't care. Because at the end of the day, this is what the business is all about. Winning games. The problem that I feel like the players really have here, right? If a guy has a DUI, he's going to get a lot of attention in the media, right? How could you do this? How could you possibly drink alcohol? And I understand that because people feed on negative stories, right? It's not ever about the positive stuff. How many times do you ever hear about charity stories, right? You know, Richard Sherman, right? Marshawn Lynch, both have charities. Do you really ever hear about it? No. You hear about the negative things. Oh, he trash talked his player. Must be a thug. Hey, he won't talk to the media. Must be a thug. So, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of basically there's more to come when it comes to the media, social media aspect. You see players on Twitter. You see players on Instagram. You see them on Facebook. Player websites are being introduced too. Like I said, players are going to control their image more going forward. They understand the public impact. They talk about the Ferguson story. They talk about the Trayvon Martin story. You know, if they're involved in charity, talk about charity. We never hear about this. There's going to be CBA changes in the future, right? The players are going to try to limit media access. They're going to want incentives to talk to you guys. There's going to be new ways to maximize NBA profits. The fact of the matter is, you don't need newspaper, you don't need radio, you don't need TV nowadays with all the social media access to get your message out there. For All-Star voting, fans get to choose starters. The coaches get to choose reserves. The awards and the All-NBA team is decided by the media. Players want more control of this. They watch the film. Other guys look at stats. The fact of the matter. I'm going to head to break, and when I come back, I'm going to talk about the Masters and the 5 takeaways I have. Jordan Spieth, 21-year-old, second youngest to win the Masters, has a -18, ties the 1997 Tiger Woods record. Plenty of stories that happened from this past weekend. I'll get to more up next in Sports Madness.